Hello, and welcome to this course on Basic to Advanced 3GPP based 5 layer design for 5G wireless systems. In this introductory lecture, I will walk you through what this course is about and what you will learn by the end of it. Before we dive into 5G, let's take a step back and understand how wireless communication has evolved over the years. Today we talk about 5G, but of course, it all started with 1G, followed by 2G, 3G, and then 4G. Each generation brought significant improvements, shaping the way we communicate today. Now let's start with 1G, the first generation of mobile networks. This was the era of analog transmission, where signals were based on amplitude modulation and frequency modulation. Within 1G, different countries had different standards. In North America, there was this AMS, Advanced Mobile Phone System. In Nordic countries, a system called NMT, that is Nordic Mobile Telephony, that was developed through collaboration between network operators of Nordic countries. The UK has its own standard known as TACS, or Total Access Communication System. Although there were different standards, they all had one thing in common. 1G was designed exclusively for voice services or voice communication. There was no concept of data services, and mobile phones were purely for making and receiving calls. But the most crucial achievement of 1G was it brought mobile telephony to ordinary people. Before this, mobile communication was something only the military had access to. However, there were several limitations. Since it was analog, call quality was poor and the network was prone to interference. Then came 2G, a major leap forward as mobile networks transitioned from analog to digital transmission. This shift improved call quality, enhanced security, and allowed for basic data services. The primary service was still voice, but now we had additional feature like SMS or text messaging. Similar to 1G, multiple standards existed across different regions. GSM, that was Global System for Mobile Communication, it was developed in Europe and eventually became the most widely adopted standard. In North America, digital AMPS that was used, while Japan developed and used its own system called PDC. Another significant standard that emerged was CDMA IS-95, which was based on different technology but still primarily it was focusing on voice with some limited data capability. However, 2G had a major drawback. Phones were not compatible across different countries. If you travel from one country to another, your phone simply wouldn't work because these standards were not interoperable. Despite this, the key takeaway from 2G was that it introduced digital communication and text messaging, making mobile phones even more useful. As demand for faster services grew, the industry moved towards 3G. The goal here was to enable high speed mobile broadband services that allowed users to browse the internet, send emails, and even make video calls. Again, two main standards emerged. First is HSPA, that is high speed packet access, and CDMA 2000, which was an advanced version of the earlier CDMA standards. Both were designed to handle voice and data efficiently, but while data speeds improved significantly, they were still not fast enough for streaming high quality videos or handling large amounts of data seamlessly. Then came 4G, the era of high speed mobile internet. Before 5G, 4G was what most of us were using. The biggest improvement over 3G was its ability to provide much higher data rates. While 3G networks operated on smaller bandwidth, 4G used up to 20 megahertz of bandwidth, making it 10 times faster than 3G. Since data rates are directly proportional to bandwidth, so as the available bandwidth increased, speed improved dramatically. However, transmitting data over wider bandwidths brought new challenges such as channel estimation. To address this, 4G adopted OFDM or orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, which simplified channel estimation and equalization. This enabled high speed, seamless connectivity, revolutionizing the way we streamed videos, played online games, and used mobile phone applications. A key difference between 1G, 2G, 3G compared to 4G was standardization. In the earlier generations, different countries allowed different standards, which mean devices weren't always compatible. With 4G, national and international regulatory bodies came together to create a unified standard, ensuring seamless connectivity across the world. Now, this raises an important question: who set these standards? For that, we need to understand the role of international regulatory bodies. A part of United Nations, that is ITU, or International Telecommunication Union, which oversees everything related to information and communication technologies worldwide. It is further divided into three key sectors. The first is ITU-T, which is responsible for developing technical standards for telecommunications, ensuring that systems and networks can work together securely and efficiently. The second is ITUR, which focuses on radio communication. It manages the global radio frequency spectrum, regulates radio signals, and ensures coordination between different countries to prevent interference. The third is ITUD, which provides technical assistance and support to developing countries working toward global digital inclusion. For wireless communication, especially 5G, ITUR plays the most critical role as it supervises the allocation of radio frequencies and ensures smooth operation across nations. However, ITU does not design the technology itself. That responsibility falls on another key organization, that is 3GPP, or the Third Generation Partnership Project. So, how does the standardization process work? It all starts with network providers and hardware manufacturers conducting research and detailed analysis. They are the players in telecommunication market. They generate reports which are then reviewed by intergovernmental organizations like ITUR. Based on these reviews, ITU provides standardization guidelines for the next generation wireless systems. These guidelines are then used by industry players to develop commercial solutions which are formalized as 3GPP standards. 3GPP is a global collaboration of telecommunication organizations, equipment manufacturers, and chipset developers. This includes network providers like Ericsson and Huawei, chipset manufacturers like Qualcomm and Broadcom, and mobile phone companies like Apple and Samsung. Together, these players research, design, and develop new mobile technologies to meet the requirements set by ITU. Now, coming on to 3GPP releases and generation. 3GPP releases these standards incrementally over time, refining and improving with each new version. For instance, 3GPP Release 8 introduced LTE, the foundation of 4G. 3GPP Release 10 brought the LTE Advanced, which further improved speeds and performance. When it came to 5G, 3GPP Release 15 and beyond defined the technology and its core functionalities. Looking ahead, 3GPP Release 19 has already begun the early work on 6G. Release 21 expected to define 6G radio access networks, setting the stage for commercial 6G deployment by 2030. We are specifically interested in 38 series, which is transceiver design aspects of 5G NR. Now that we have covered 1G to 4G, let's talk about network architecture of 5G first. Mobile communication work through user equipments or UE, that is your mobile phone. When you send or receive data, your phone connects to base station which we commonly see as cell towers. This base station consists of two key components, that is radio remote head and the baseband unit. The remote radio head captures and transmits signal while the baseband unit handles all the signal processing. These two components are linked via front haul connection while the baseband unit connects to the core network through backhaul connection. The core network is the backbone of the entire system which manages data, ensuring connectivity and handling security and quality of service. When a user operates their mobile phone, it either sends the signal to the base station or it receives the signal from it. This creates two distinct directions for wireless communication. So when the user device transmits to base station, it is called uplink, while the transmission from the base station to the user is called downlink. In this course, we will explore the entire physical layer processing, covering key concepts such as modulation, coding, and signal transmission. We will also examine how the base station and user equipment work together to enable seamless communication following the guidelines set by 3GPP standards. Now, if we look at the overall evolution, 1G was primarily designed for voice communication. When we transitioned to 2G, it introduced digital communication which brought not only voice services but also some data capabilities like SMS. The shift from 2G to 3G focused significantly on increasing the data rate. This enabled mobile internet and multimedia applications. Then we took this even further in case of 4G, using higher bandwidth to provide much faster data rate, allowing seamless streaming, video calls, and online applications. However, up until 4G, mobile networks were primarily designed for human communication, connecting people through voice and data. With 5G, the focus expands beyond just humans. 5G enables machines to communicate with each other, opening up new possibilities in automation, IoT, and real time control application. 5G is designed to support three major use cases, each addressing a different challenge. The first use case is enhanced mobile broadband. This is an extension of the traditional use case where the goal is to provide high speed connectivity and handle massive amounts of data traffic. We are all familiar with this use case, whether it is streaming 4K videos, playing online games, or uploading and downloading large files. 5G achieves faster data speeds by using wider bandwidths, ensuring a seamless and high quality experience for users. The another use case is massive machine type communication, that is MMTC. Unlike previous generations, 5G is designed to enable communication between machines. One of the most key aspects of this is connecting a massive number of low cost, low power devices. A great example of this is a smart electricity meter that transmits its daily reading to a central server. The amount of data being sent is minimal, so high data rates aren't necessary, but energy efficiency is critical. Since these devices often run on batteries and need to function for years without recharging, 5G standard enables this type of functioning of device, which ensures that they can transmit data with minimal power consumption while remaining always connected. The third use case of 5G is the ultra reliable low latency communication, that is URLLC. This is one of the most revolutionary aspect of 5G. URLLC is designed for mission critical applications that require extremely low latency and high reliability. For example, imagine a surgeon who is performing some kind of remote robotic surgery And even in that case, even a tiny delay in signal transmission could have life-threatening consequences. Another example is autonomous vehicle, which rely on real-time communication with other vehicles and road infrastructure, such as traffic lights and sensors. A split-second delay in processing the information could result in an accident. With URLLC, 5G ensures that such applications operate with near zero latency and unparalleled reliability. Throughout this course, we will deep dive into the physical layer processing involved in 5G communication. We will explore how both user equipment and base station process the signals following the 3GPP standards. You will also gain insights into how 5G technology enables the faster speeds, massive connectivity, and ultra reliable communication, making it the foundation for the future of wireless networks. For references, we will be using 3GPP standards, and wherever necessary, I will specify the exact sections to help you navigate through the official documentation. And to download 3GPP specifications, follow these steps. Go to your browser and search for 3GPP specification 38.211 release 18 PDF. Select the first link, that is etsi.org, where you will be able to download your 3GPP specifications. Apart from these, I will be using these two books for the references. So let's get started. Thank you.